taken steroids before?
No, never. I couldn't do it. Physically couldn't do it. If I did or had done it without telling anyone, or I just couldn't look at my brother or my dad in the eyes and say, I achieved what I did.
Last year, third place was a Rookie of the Year finish for Patrick Vellner. This year, third place, Rookie of the Year, Ricky Garard.
It's just the beginning for me. I have plenty more years in me, and this is my life. I'm hungry. I'll be back next year bigger and better. So.
In 2017, Ricky had a phenomenal rookie season. He finishes third on the podium, but he failed his post-event drug test. So not only was he stripped of his medal, he was also banned for 4 years from competing in the games as well.
You know, obviously there's no excuse for what he did in the past, and he served his time for that. And so if a sanction is going to be worth anything, when it is up, it has to be respected that it was served. For that reason, having him back in the sport, I don't see any way that it's not going to be controversial.
I think the question on the forefront of everyone's mind now that Ricky is finally returning to competition is whether or not you believe in second chances.
Semifinals are the third stage of the CrossFit Games season and the first in-person stage of the CrossFit Games season. There are 10 events that are held around the world, and those 10 events ultimately decide who advances to Madison, Wisconsin in the CrossFit Games.
So over the course of 4 weeks in total, we'll have 10 different semifinal events taking place across the globe for the teams and individuals to earn their spot to compete at the games.
Week 1 of semifinals, we had 3 different events. We had the Torian Pro, that took place in Australia. The Lowlands Throwdown, that was one of the 2 European events. And then we had the Syndicate Crown in Knoxville, Tennessee. That was the first of 4 North American semifinals.
There's a lot of things about this season that have been a bit of a scramble. We're in week 1 semifinals in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Syndicate Crown. We are here Friday morning. The judges meeting and kind of final touches are going down right now.
Lift as much weight as he can.
Right out of the gate, all eyes are going to be on the reigning men's champ, Justin Medeiros,
who only won 1 event at the CrossFit Games last year to win his first title. Coincidentally, Matt Fraser, when he won his first title, only won 1 event.
Looking at the games last year, I mean, I only won 1 event, so obviously there's so much to improve on. We're always working on our weaknesses and training, and the machines is something that I've had to put a huge focus on. I feel like those are the events that I don't feel like I can go out there and win those events. And for me, if I don't feel like I can go out there and win that event, it's a weakness. And there's a lot of those things that we're trying to like tune up and get good.
And the defending fittest man on earth is going to win skiing with Karen. And he will have a stranglehold on first place in the overall standings. Justin Medeiros really used the recipe for success at the Syndicate Crown that helped him at the CrossFit Games. He was super consistent. He only won 1 event at the Syndicate Crown, but that was more than enough to get him to the top of the overall standings because he was so consistent throughout the entire event. Top 5 men advanced to the CrossFit Games out of the Syndicate Crown, and it was the battle for that 5th and final spot that really got interesting.
This is the first time that we're seeing James hit the competition floor since his big event win yesterday in Oregon Trail. And according to his dad, that was the confidence boost that he needed to reset his mindset going into this day. Now he says this event is in his wheelhouse, so definitely keep an eye out.
Sprint to the finish for Sprague. He is not going to win the event, but he will win his heat.
I don't know if James Sprague was necessarily a contender for one of the top 5 spots in a game spot this year. I think some people kind of saw him as one of those up-and-comers that could maybe contend just a little bit, but certainly had him penciled in the future.
He knows that he's got to capitalize on his strengths. And so, I mean, Spencer and I were like, go get it. And he just said, I'm going to win this one. I'm going to go after it. And he had that attitude. And I just saw it in his eyes that he had a great shot at it.
So going into event 5 to start the final day, James was actually in 5th and actually had a pretty good point spread overall. So really for him, he just needed to avoid any disastrous finishes and any finishes that might put him in the bottom 5.
Medeiros is out, Medeiros is through, and he is on his way again to Madison. James Sprague is in, Hopper's in, and Grayshaber.
And just before Grayshaber, Will Morad snuck in the far lane 10.
But the top 5 men all doing what they need to do. With one event remaining, so Sprague's lead on Griffin Raleigh for 6 is going to increase. Sprague is going to finish in 4th place in the event.
Regardless of whether he ever makes it to the CrossFit Games or not, I think this type of experience is a character-building one that will propel him now and in his future, no matter what he does, and that's what I love about this sport.
So in event 6, James really struggled with some of the gymnastics stuff.
He just has to avoid a blow-up here, and he should stay inside the top 5. Sprague is across. He's going to take 24th. It was his worst finish of the competition since taking 24th in the opening event. Meanwhile, Will Morad came out of nowhere and won that event, and as a result, there was a lot of number crunching going on after that event to figure out if Will Morad had done enough to make up enough points to get inside the top 5 and knock James Sprague out.
I think it's going to be like a 6-point thing.
Well, Boone was way behind me.
80 points.
And it's possible that by the narrowest of margins, we could have probably the biggest upset I've ever seen.
With 403 points, Mr. Will Morad.
It was a dogfight. That was a real dogfight at the end.
And then I feel like I let anyone down, so thank you guys for just having my back.
Always, James. Always. Very proud. Extremely proud.
On the team side of things at the Syndicate Crown, the one team that everyone had their eyes on was Rich Froning and CrossFit Mayhem. They were there looking to get back to the CrossFit Games to defend their title, and it looked like the Syndicate Crown was just going to be a formality for them.
Look at how Mayhem here follows the worm to the ground. No hesitation, really cutting down the time between reps.
And another win for Mayhem Freedom, and they smash CrossFit Hard Knocks time. Rich Froning and his team with another event win.
Meanwhile, all the way across the globe, 4,000 plus miles away from Mayhem in Tennessee, we have CrossFit Reykjavik, the team that everyone is hoping can maybe push CrossFit Mayhem Freedom, and really the only person without team competition is Annie Thorsdottir, so it's a very different live scenario than she's ever done before.
It's oddly calming and exciting at the same time. I'm like I kind of like going into my own zone and just going, but it's also like taking a floor with some of your best friends. That's pretty cool. That's something that I've developed with Kat, and that's what I've always loved when we have a lane next to each other. It's like, it's the best feeling in the world, because I feel like I'm just exercising with my best friends.
Watching Annie watch the men go, you could see her talking to Lauren, critiquing little things out there. And those are the big things that are going to matter, especially when you think about the CrossFit Games and trying to tackle Mayhem, is that physically, there's not going to be a whole lot of separation. Where Mayhem always has the benefit is their ability to work seamlessly as a team. So at the CrossFit Games, if you want to beat someone like Mayhem, you're almost going to have to be perfect.
The team from Reykjavik hit a home run, immediately out of the gates. And the way that semifinals programming works is that CrossFit HQ programs 2 events that'll get used at every single semifinal. So in that thrust or legless workout, that was the first one at Lowlands, Reykjavik actually got the edge on CrossFit Mayhem by beating them by about 35 seconds.
But what I like is what I'm seeing right now, that they're acting as a team, but not as the best friends ever. It's more professional athletes in a team coming together to do a job and be very, very surgical about it.
If you looked at Mayhem and Reykjavik just on paper and separated themselves out into their individual pieces, you might say that Reykjavik had the better team. But individual talent doesn't always translate well in a team setting because the ability to work together and chemistry are so important in a team competition. Although in the 1 rep max snatch event that both teams did, Reykjavik and Mayhem in the semifinals, Reykjavik did outlift Mayhem by 20 pounds. In the 2 events that both Mayhem and Reykjavik did in their separate semifinals, Reykjavik finished ahead of Mayhem in both.
If I were Rich Froning, there's not a lot that needs to motivate him on a daily basis, especially after just his career. But things like this are the little things that I think are almost dangerous for Reykjavik than Rich Froning. Because you see how well they've performed. You see that they are for real. It's almost like bulletin board material, which is the most dangerous thing to put in front of, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, right? And Rich is in that category. To give him any motivation beyond his own desire to win, I think is a dangerous thing.
Someone kindly offered me a shoe like a fresh one, but that's just disgusting. I would never want to drink out of a fresh shoe. That defeats the purpose of the entire thing. It's got to be a tainted, hard worked in shoe that you drink out of. So yeah, none of that rubbish. You're going to use that rubbish?
I believe that we're stronger now than we were a week ago as a team because we learned so much from these experiences. We got what we wanted to get out of this. What I wanted to get out of this was a push in the events and have to go to a different game plan a couple of times and switch things up and communicate on the floor. And that's exactly what we did. And I feel like we learned something, not in every single event, but we definitely learned something every time we took the floor together. I am really proud of my team. I'm proud of every single one of them.
Down in Australia in the Torian Pro, that semifinal was interesting, I think, for a lot of reasons.
All day, boy. Feel good?
Over on the men's side, we were actually wading into some unfamiliar territory, I would say, because for the first time ever, we have an athlete returning to live competition following a 4-year ban for performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, the biggest person I want to prove to is myself. I haven't given up on the dream, and it's clear to me there's a reason for that, and I've never lost that belief in myself that I can be one of the best in the world at this sport. And even if I tried to let it go and move on, I just couldn't.
Regardless about how you feel about Ricky Garard's return to competition, it's hard to argue against the fact that he is definitely in the right hands. Justin Cotler, the head of Underdogs Athletics, is his coach, and I think it's a great fit to bring Ricky back this year to competition.
How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good, man.
How Ricky and I got together, I was on a podcast, Coffee Pods and Wads, with my buddy Peter, and he asked me if there was an athlete that that I'm not currently coaching that I'd be interested in coaching.
An athlete that you'd most like to work with?
Oh, that's a great one. Athlete that I'd most like to work with. This is going to be controversial. Ricky Garard.
There was no question at the time that I was, that I was interested in the possibility of coaching Ricky, just because I felt like I would have a lot to offer him, especially, with what he's had to deal with, over the last several years. Unfortunately, he kind of became a pariah, right, in the CrossFit community, where people, they didn't really want to work with him or talk to him, etc. And the way that I looked at it is none of that had happened on my watch. He was 22 years old when this happened, and I think about, the shit that I pulled when I was 22, and Ricky and I started talking, that was what happened first, is we just had conversations. It wasn't like he reached out and I was like, yes. No, it was, let's talk. What are you interested in? What can we do together? And really at this point in time, it's my way or the highway. This is the way we're gonna do it. I think he's gonna be a role model, honestly, for a lot of people who've been through shit, who've kind of hit rock bottom and then been able to come back, and it's a beautiful redemption story. And I feel like he's going to be a really good ambassador for that.
Cool. Yeah. So then we'll just plan on talking in the morning for that. All right. Jax is pulling me.
He's probably just given me just like confidence to be back in the mix with the top guys, and he's given me that confidence that I deserve to be here. And the goal is to punch a ticket to the CrossFit Games.
I think the question that a lot of people ask themselves with Ricky is, do you believe in a second chance? The fact that he is under the tutelage of Justin Cotler from Underdogs Athletics, that is nothing but a win for Ricky Garard.
If they're on schedule, you've got 15 minutes. Till the 10 minutes till they call you over.
It was a challenge, because I was here, right? I was here in Knoxville, and obviously with Ricky at Torian, it was extremely challenging. And I trust Benny, and Benny and Ricky have an incredible relationship. So I knew that he would be my eyes and ears out there.
Yeah, so we got 15 minutes until we get called in to the corrals. So just going through a basic warm up, get ready for each movement. What else? Burpee box jump overs and ring muscle ups and some running. That's yours, isn't it? Yeah. Sip of that, sip of this. No more talking, no more waiting. Let's fucking go and do what you do best.
The cheer you hear right then is for the return of Ricky Garard.
Ricky performed well this past weekend. I'm not gonna lie to you though, man. There were a couple of shit moments.
Did he bite off too much too early? He's done, and he has dead set emptied the tank.
Ricky actually put his semifinals in jeopardy with how hard he went in event number 1. He worked so hard in that opening event that his body almost shut down.
I found out from Benny essentially that he'd been vomiting all morning, his nerves, he couldn't keep any food down, and you could see it in an event like King Arthur. You needed to have some fuel and you needed to have some storage, and he was depleted completely. Still managed to hang on to 6th, but yeah, there were some scary moments there.
Let me shake your legs. Yeah, sweet. Let me shake your legs. Right there. Just breathe. Give me 10 deep breaths. 10 deep breaths. We've done this before, bro. We've done this before. Come on, boy.
I know he was in medical for a while. I know that he had to pass a couple of EKGs to make sure that his heart rate was okay. And he finally got clearance, I guess, about 30 minutes before the legless event, and then went out and won it.
Ricky Garard is making a move.
I felt like, that was a pretty good, that showed that he had recovered, pretty well.
Ricky Garard, he gets his rope climb. He's going a sub-3.
I don't think he steps onto the competition floor if it's not to win. So I think in his mind, he's going there to win.
Garard, urging the crowd back to competition and an event win for Ricky Garard. Fucking go!
The interesting thing about the Torian Pro is, unlike some of the other larger semifinals, they only get 3 spots to the games. So on the women's side, it's pretty much a guarantee that 2 of those spots are going to be taken by Tia-Clair Toomey and Saunders.
It's been a while. I missed out on the games last year, so it's actually been a solid 12 months essentially since I've competed out on a competition floor.
Saunders, she says, what do you got?
I think that being an Aussie woman, we give it our absolute all. We do everything that we can. We're not afraid to get our hands dirty.
We know she can squat, but is she going to have the strength to put it over her head at the end of this?
As an Aussie woman, trying to be the best in the world amongst such incredible other strong individual athletes as well. We're just out there to give it our best, and our best is, some of the best in the world.
And in true champion fashion, she does.
Yeah, I definitely think as far as up-and-coming athletes in Australia, Ellie has certainly made an impression on so many people. She showed that she could do some amazing things last year in this competition, and that she could be a force to be reckoned with.
The newcomer going to the games last year for the first time. Breakout Waterpalooza this year. And Ellie Turner, 4th place finish. Ellie Turner, Bailey Rogers battling it out. Bailey Rogers, can Ellie Turner make up the distance? No, she can't. Bailey Rogers home first. Ellie Turner, solid as a rock.
Competing against the best in the world isn't changing my approach at all. I mean, to be the best, you've got to beat the best, and I think having the best skills in the world is just going to bring the best out of me as well.
And Ellie Turner needs to make a move, as does Jamie Simmons, and if both can finish ahead of Cara Saunders.
So it's not going to change my approach at all, but it was just going to make me that little bit more hungrier to attack every workout and try and leave nothing on the floor.
Ellie Turner with a 2nd place finish.
At the end of the 2nd day of competition at the Torian Pro, there was really no surprise in the top 2 spots. Toomey and Cara Saunders were 1st and 2nd, and then the young up-and-comer Ellie Turner, she sat in 3rd, but she was far from safe. She was only 4 points up on 4th place heading into the 3rd and final day.
So it's a little less deficit than what you practiced, huh?
I think so. Like, I practiced with 20 kilo plates for 45.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Those feel quite a bit easier than the deficit we practiced?
Not a lot.
Okay. They look super sharp. They look like really nice.
After quarterfinals, Ellie Turner actually decided to make a coaching change. She was with Decacomp. She left that to join with Adam Neiffer, who is the coach of defending fittest man on earth, Justin Medeiros.
Ellie came to train at our gym for a week. She ended up staying for a month, and that was about it. She just didn't really enjoy the environment, and I think, who wouldn't want the opportunity to train with Justin Medeiros? Not only one of the fittest in our sport, but also just like a super fun dude to be around. So I know it was a lot less about me and a lot more about having this training partner that was just a win-win for both Ellie and for Justin. To have somebody that's not a direct competitor, but is able to go through the grind on a daily basis and push one another.
Now Ellie Turner moved that bag really quick up and down that floor.
Ellie's got a ton of strength. She's strong for one. That one's obvious. There's some skill elements that I think are probably her biggest holes that she's been putting a lot of time and effort into recently. And I think that's not so much a product of them being huge weaknesses as much as just lack of experience.
Fatigue and Jamie Simmons starting to creep in massively, as is Ellie Turner and Maddie Sturt.
Ellie is a really great athlete, but people forget that she's pretty new to the sport, and she's been to the games one time, so she's got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge to gain, and that's happening this year.
And Ellie Turner, Ellie stops, Jamie Simmons stops. The crowd urging both these ladies to keep going. It's got to be Ellie Turner. Ellie Turner currently in 3rd. Does she stay in 3rd on the leaderboard?
When the dust settled, Ellie Turner had managed to hold on to that 3rd and final spot. She only beat out Maddie Sturt by 4 points, but the result was she got to earn herself a 2nd consecutive trip to the CrossFit Games.
My goal for the season is always to win. I'd love to be on the podium. Realistically, I just want to do better than I did last year, and I wasn't completely happy with my performances at the games last year. Yeah, gonna go in, try and attack every workout, and if I do that, then I'll be happy.
The Queen of CrossFit added another feather to her cap by becoming the first ever individual athlete to win all of her semifinal events on her quest to win a record 6th straight CrossFit Games. And as expected, Cara Saunders is going back to Madison after finishing 2nd. And I think all 3 women from the Torian Pro are looking to make a splash this year.
For For me, especially at this point in my career, like I'm over a decade into my career, I'm a mom, I own a business. My number one priority this season in particular, especially after missing out last season, is to enjoy the journey a lot more than the destination, as corny as that sounds. So for me, it's been about every single day in the gym and noticing every single small moment out on that competition floor and listening to the cheers and soaking up the workouts and really enjoying everything that I've worked really hard for so long.
Coming in third, Crouch fourth, Matt McLeod fifth, 5 reps, Ricky Garard, 4 reps, Baden Brown, who is going to get over the line first? Baden Brown, it's going to be another event win! Ricky Garard in second. Let's go! Ricky will be next. Ricky Garard. These results are shaking up with Royce finishing. Ricky Garard, has he booked his tickets?
In second place with 540 points, Ricky Garard.
After a 4-year absence, Ricky Garard is heading back to the CrossFit Games. He does enough to earn himself a second-place finish at the Torian Pro, and this is a guy who definitely has something to prove in Madison, Wisconsin.
He made a mistake, right? Let's understand that he knows he made a mistake, but he served his time, and now he's back. And at the end of the day, man, he prepared his ass off, and he's going back to Madison, man.
That's where the main goal's always been. That's the opportunity I want back in my hands to prove myself that I belong there and do it the right way this time and show what I'm capable of. And it's always been the same goal since I started competing in CrossFit, and that's to win the CrossFit Games.
On the next, miles to Madison.
First round, you need to go fast. Second round, you need to go fast. Third round, you need to go fast.
I fully believe that she's the best one here, and I'm going to tell her to go prove it on the floor.
She's just like the kid sister version of Matt.
God, she's a competitor.
Winning's fun. That's all.